just because I glanced at the receptionist the last time I visited my wife's company. My CEO wife, Victoria Bellwether, fired every single female employee there. Later in her office, she straddled my lap, whispering sweetly as she nuzzled against my ear, "Honey, your eyes can only be for me, no other women." I held her slim waist, nodding repeatedly in agreement. But the very next day, while scrolling through videos, I stumbled upon a hotel review blogger's livestream. There was Victoria, checking in at the front desk of a themed fantasy hotel, arm in arm with a newly hired male employee from her company. If this had happened before, I would have definitely found excuses for her, trusted her without question. This time, however, I quietly contacted a lawyer to draft divorce papers because I saw that the male employee's face was identical to Ethan Song's her unattainable first love, her white moonlight. One sent, "Hey everyone. Today your host is checking out the city's most famous themed fantasy hotel. Since we got a tip from a viewer who said they found hidden cameras when they came here with their girlfriend. Let's go inside and see if there's any truth to these claims." Killing time, I clicked into the live stream out of curiosity. The camera panned across the hotel lobby, showing a price list for various themed rooms, none of them cheap. As I watched, wondering about the prices, the camera shifted and I froze. There was my wife, Victoria Bellwether, clinging to the arm of a strange man, smiling brightly as they checked in at the front desk. I thought my eyes were deceiving me. I quickly zoomed in on the screen, but the next second confirmed my fears, leaving me completely stunned. "Oh baby, let's get the room with the waterbed this time, okay? We've tried all the others, they're getting boring." Victoria blushed, burying her face in the man's chest. He smiled dotingly, stroking the hair that fell beside her ear. "Okay, whatever you want." Whoa, caught some live action. Young people these days are so wild getting a waterbed room. Dude above, you know nothing it. It's called spicing things up. Plenty of married couples go to themed hotels, let alone dating couples. The scrolling comments felt like needles piercing my eyes. I couldn't believe it. My wife, who supposedly loved me to the bone and couldn't tolerate even a hint of infidelity, was the one cheating first. Then the man turned, and I saw a face identical to Ethan Song's. Ethan Song was Victoria's first love from college, the white moonlight she could never truly have. Because Victoria came from a modest background and Ethan was a total mama's boy. Under pressure from his parents, he unilaterally dumped Victoria and married the woman his family arranged for him. Now their child was already in elementary school. Victoria had been devastated by the breakup, depressed for 3 whole years. It wasn't until she met me that she seemed to recover, put the past behind her, and start a new life. She once said I was like a light, her destined salvation. Now she was successful in her career and, I thought, completely devoted to me and our home, which is why at this moment, if it weren't for seeing that man's face, I might have even convinced myself to trust her unconditionally. I switched apps and sent Victoria a message on WeChat. "Where are you?" 10 full minutes passed with no reply. Swallowing my anger, I tried calling her directly. This time she picked up instantly. "Hey honey, what's up?" I forced myself to sound calm, but my tone was icy. "Where are you?" She hesitated for a moment, then quickly put on a smile in her voice. "I'm out of town on a business trip." "Sorry, honey, something urgent came up with the company. It was so rushed I didn't get a chance to tell you beforehand." As Victoria spoke, the distinct sound of a shower running came through the phone. My fists clenched involuntarily, nails digging deep into my palms. "Where's the business trip? What city? Who's with you?" Sensing my insistence, Victoria sounded slightly annoyed but stuck to her lie. "Just a few colleagues from the company." "Honey, what's with all the questions? Don't you trust me?" I sneered inwardly. "It's precisely because I trusted you too much that I'm only finding out today you've apparently stayed in every single room of that themed hotel with another man." The sound of the shower stopped abruptly on her end. Before I could say anything else, Victoria made an excuse and quickly hung up. "I gotta go deal with some documents now." Talk later, honey. Make sure you eat properly while I'm gone. Then the line went dead, leaving only a long, heavy dial tone. I stood there for a long time, numb, before snapping back to reality. The live stream, still running in the background, was wrapping up. Irritated, I turned off my phone and sat by the window lighting a cigarette. I couldn't understand it. I just couldn't wrap my head around it. In our 2 years of marriage, while I might not have been the perfect husband, I had never once lost my temper with Victoria. When she said she didn't like that there were too many women at my workplace, I quit my job and stayed home without a single word of complaint, just because she asked. And yet here she was telling me she loved me, forbidding me from even interacting with other women, while secretly carrying on with a stand-in for her white moonlight, doing God knows what in hotel rooms. The thought made my gaze drift towards the double bed in our bedroom. An image of Victoria pinned beneath that other man flashed through my mind. My throat tightened. A wave of nausea hit me, and I rushed to the bathroom, gagging over the toilet bowl. 2 all night long. Not a single call from Victoria. I sat there from sunset to sunrise, sleepless. It wasn't until noon the next day that the dead-bolted front door was unlocked from the outside. Victoria walked in. The moment our eyes met, a flicker of panic crossed hers. Honey, why are you up so early?" I let out a cold laugh, my face expressionless. "It's noon. Why are you just getting back?" "When the traffic was bad, got held up a bit." Seeing I didn't press further, she relaxed slightly, habitually dropping her bag and sitting on the sofa to change her shoes while complaining to me. "Honey, don't even ask. That hotel was barely fit for humans." I raised an eyebrow. Oh. And food was awful, totally not used to it, and the room wasn't great either. I kept feeling like the bed was dirty. As she spoke, she pulled down the collar of her blouse. "Look, see? I even got a rash." A large patch of red marks, clearly Hickey's, was brazenly exposed to my view. No attempt to hide them, no hesitation. The proof of her recent intimacy now casually explained away with a flimsy excuse, shown to me so openly. My hands clenched into fists. I fought the urge to lunge forward and strangle her. But in the next second, Victoria sat directly onto my lap. She wrapped her arms around my neck, her lips brushing against my earlobe unintentionally. The scent clinging to her, a man's cologne, not mine, instantly filled my nostrils. My stomach churned, and I gagged right then and there, overwhelmed by disgust. "Honey, what's wrong? Are you not feeling well?" she exclaimed, jumping off my lap. I waved a hand dismissively and stood up, heading towards the bathroom. Spending another second in the same room with her felt unbearably sickening. That evening, Victoria locked herself in the study, claiming she had work to handle. I didn't ask questions and went straight to the bedroom. Lying in bed, I tossed and turned, the images from the live stream flashing relentlessly through my mind. I couldn't just swallow this. Fueled by anger, I started searching online for law firms. I don't know how long I searched before I drifted off into a hazy sleep. In a state between dreaming and waking, I heard the sound of a lock turning. Victoria tiptoed into the bedroom in the dark. She approached the bed and waved her hand in front of my eyes. "Honey, are you asleep?" I remained silent, forcing myself to stay still, terrified she'd noticed something was wrong. After a moment, she whispered again, testingly. "Honey?" I didn't answer. Unexpectedly, a low, clear male voice sounded from outside the bedroom door. "Looks like he's dead asleep." "Baby, what if he finds out we're being so blatant about this?" My mind exploded. Have they no shame? She actually brought her lover into our home. Victoria, now barefoot on the floor, hooked an arm around the man's muscular waist and replied in a sweet, charming voice. "Don't worry, my husband's as stupid as a pig. Remember those marks you left last time because you were too rough?" I told him it was an allergic reaction, and he actually believed me. Entente really is pathetic. The man chuckled softly, then pushed Victoria down onto our bed. "No, not in here." "3, isn't it more exciting here?" The man Quentin Shang teased, his eyes glinting with amusement. Victoria fell silent for a moment, then lowered her voice. "But I don't want him to find out just yet." He sounded puzzled. Why not? Didn't you tell me you only married him because he was obedient and tolerant? Don't tell me you've actually fallen for him. Victoria's tone softened, taking on a coaxing quality. Oh no, Quentin, listen to me. An obedient dog like Sincere Smith is still useful to have around. At the very least, he's a free, unpaid nanny. Hearing this, Quentin, though somewhat reluctant, scooped Victoria up and carried her to the guest bedroom. The door clicked shut, locking them inside. The night became terrifyingly quiet. Soon, the sounds of a man's heavy breathing and a woman's continuous moans drifted from the next room. I opened my eyes, feeling as if a giant boulder was crushing my chest, making it hard to breathe. Without further hesitation, I swallowed the stinging tears and got up, grabbing my phone. Victoria and Quentin were lost in their passion next door. Barefoot, I opened my bedroom door and slowly approached the guest room. The door wasn't fully closed, just slightly ajar. Peeking through the crack, illuminated by the moonlight filtering through the window, I saw them entangled, completely naked, oblivious to my existence in the house. I turned on my phone's camera, tears streaming uncontrollably down my face. After saving the evidence, I stayed up all night and found the best lawyer in the city. Victoria Bellwether, you betrayed me first. The next morning when I got up, Victoria and Quentin Xiang were sitting together on the living room sofa. Seeing me come downstairs, she smiled and introduced him. Honey, this is Quentin Xiang, the new department head at my company. He just needed my signature on a document this morning, so he brought it straight here. I nodded curtly, offering no reply. First, it was hickeys disguised as allergies. Now she was introducing her lover to me directly. If I hadn't already discovered their affair, I don't know how much longer she would have treated me like a fool, like her dog. Hey man, don't get the wrong idea, Quentin said smoothly. Inside, I was just dropping off a file for President Bellwether. You seem like a broad-minded guy. Surely you wouldn't get upset over something like this? I forced a stiff smile. Why would I? Since I trust Victoria. As I spoke, I pulled a suitcase out from the closet. Victoria looked puzzled. Are you going somewhere? I grunted in affirmation. A relative back home needs help with something. I have to go back for a bit. I made up a random excuse, desperate to escape the suffocating atmosphere of this house. But Victoria walked over, suspicious. And a relative? Which relative? Have I met them? The strained smile remained on my face. No, you haven't met them, but we're quite close. But the launch event for the new branch is next Monday. You promised you'd be there, didn't you? She sounded reluctant, but my patience was wearing thin. The launch event? After she put these massive metaphorical horns on my head? And she still expects me to accompany her to a launch event? What a joke. Don't worry, I remember. I'll definitely be there on time for the launch. While talking, I quickly threw some clothes into the suitcase. Victoria tried to stop me, but this time I didn't look back. I just grabbed the handle and walked out the door. I took a cab to the south side of the city and booked a hotel room for a week straight. Until the divorce papers were finalized, even looking at her made me sick. Over the next few days, Victoria initially pretended to care, calling me occasionally with feigned warmth. Gradually, she stopped bothering even to send a text message. During a moment of boredom, I opened my phone and logged back into the surveillance app for the cameras I had installed in our living room. I'd put them in back when I was still working and traveling frequently for business. Worried about Victoria being home alone, I bought wireless cameras online. Later, she called it an overreaction, so I stopped checking the feed. Now, logging into the back end, I watched as, in my absence, Quentin Xiang had brazenly moved into my master bedroom. They were intimate everywhere from the living room to the balcony, even the bathroom. Various adult toys lay scattered on the floor. I sneered inwardly. However much pleasure she was feeling now, the pain she'd feel in a week would be proportionally intense. I compiled all the evidence I had gathered into a slideshow presentation and arrived at the venue just before the launch event began. The ceremony hadn't started yet. Victoria, wearing her favorite red high heels, stood on stage giving a speech. With the USB drive in hand, I slipped into the control room. The moment Victoria, teary-eyed, officially announced the start of the ceremony, I didn't hesitate. Swiftly, I plugged the USB drive into the computer connected to the large screen behind her. Creative disclaimer: this story is a work of fiction. Please do not associate it with reality. 5. Welcome, members of the press and esteemed guests, to the launch event for our new company branch. And CEO Victoria Bellwether. She stood on stage beaming at the cameras, completely unaware that the large screen behind her had switched from the company logo to something else entirely. The next second, loud moans erupted from the sound system. Everyone's attention snapped to the big screen. Whoa, this woman is wild. Oh my God, isn't this a press conference? How did it turn into a live sex show? And President Bellwether, excuse me, is that you in the video? She froze, then glanced back at the screen. Just one look was enough. Victoria turned deathly pale as if plunged into ice water. Horrified, she frantically tried to block the screen with her hands. Don't look, everybody, stop looking, 'cause that's not me, and it's really not me. Quentin Shang, his face dark with fury, moved to shield Victoria. Who the hell played this? He roared. Oh, you want to get fired? I strolled nonchalantly out of the control room, leaning against the doorframe with an air of detached amusement. And President Bellwether, isn't that the male lead from the video right there beside you? Someone shouted from the crowd. When we didn't expect such disrespect. You knew this was a major launch event. Why would you let a video like this leak? Oh, exactly, you seem so professional and decisive. Who knew you were like this behind the scenes? The crowd erupted in murmurs and accusations, all directed at Victoria. She looked up, her gaze cutting through the throng of people to meet my smiling eyes. Sincere Smith. And 'twas you, did this. She scrambled down from the stage like a madwoman trying to confront me, but the crowd swarmed around her and Quentin, blocking her path. I smirked, gave a helpless-looking shrug, and turned to leave the venue. Because the event was being live-streamed, the scandal spread like wildfire. Online commenters quickly dug up proof that Victoria Bellwether was married, posting the evidence everywhere. When the company's board of directors found out, they were furious. They held an emergency meeting that very night and voted to kick Victoria out. I returned home to the mess they had left behind. The bedroom floor was littered with various kinds of lingerie. The duvet and sheets were kicked onto the floor, and the contents of the trash can beside the bed were too disgusting to look at. Pinching my nose, I called a professional cleaning service. All the furniture, along with all of Victoria's belongings, were packed up and hauled away to the dump. I practically renovated the entire place, inside and out. That evening, exhausted, I lay on the sofa. As I opened a drawer, a photo album caught my eye. I remembered it as a collection of memories from my time with Victoria, each photo representing a place we had visited together. But the moment I opened the album, I froze in shock. The man in the photos wasn't me. It was her white moonlight, Ethan Song. No, to be precise, it was a series of faces that looked remarkably like Ethan Song. The date started from the first year of our marriage. Right up until recently, that man, Quentin Shang, was just the one who had lasted the longest by Victoria's side. So, it was all a lie from the very beginning. Victoria married me purely to have a free nanny to wait on her. All those moments I mistook for signs of her love were just my own wishful thinking. Sitting there, I felt like I was on pins and needles. Unable to suppress the fury boiling inside me any longer, I ripped the photos in the album to shreds. Just then, the front door opened. Victoria stood there, looking utterly defeated, her eyes bloodshot, staring daggers at me. Sincere Smith, what are you doing? She rushed towards me like a madwoman. Seeing the shredded photos scattered on the floor, tears instantly welled up and streamed down her face. Sincere, who gave you permission to touch my things? What right do you have to tear up my photos? I scoffed, raising my foot and stepping on the torn pieces. Victoria Bellwether, since we got married, I have respected you, cherished you, cared for you. Whatever you wanted. I did my best to give it to you. Whatever you said, I always did it without question. But you, for a man who's already married, you betrayed me, used me. What do you take me for? A fool? A stepping stone? She didn't speak, just trembled, biting her lower lip hard. So you changed the slideshow? And so you knew all along? I nodded. Victoria Bellwether, you're truly disgusting. So dirty. And if I hadn't found out sooner, who knows how long I would have been deceived by you. Since your heart was never free, why did you marry me in the first place? I expected her to lash out, to argue hysterically about the photos. But instead, she just stood there crying for a long time. Then, as if nothing had happened, she looked up at me. Honey, I know I wronged you. And I was just playing around with them, that's all. Teen, come with me to the company right now. Tell everyone that the person in the video wasn't me, okay? I could hardly believe my ears. Are you kidding me? I asked incredulously. And after everything that's happened, you actually think I would help you? Us and you lost your mind. I am the victim in all of this, from start to finish. Sincere Smith. Mid-sentence. Victoria suddenly snapped. She grabbed my collar, her voice laced with venom. So I can lose everything else, but I must keep the company. Name your price. Just promise you'll help me clear my name, and I'll give you every cent I have, okay? I violently shoved her hand away, replying with a scornful laugh. In your dreams. Not only will I not help you clear your name, but I'm also divorcing you. And don't forget, I paid for this house. She took a deep breath, trying another tactic, conceding more ground. Fine. Divorce is fine. You can have the house too. And just help me issue a clarification, help me keep my shares in the company, and we can part ways amicably. I stared at Victoria in disbelief. It was like she had become a completely different person overnight. Impossible. So you made your bed, now you have to lie in it. You need to face the consequences of your actions. The next second, a sharp, stinging slap landed hard across my face. Caught completely off guard, my head snapped to the side. Sincere Smith, let me tell you, the whole reason I started this company was for Ethan. It's my life. She screamed the words, using every ounce of strength she had, completely hysterical. I stood frozen. My heart felt like it skipped a beat. So you never had any real feelings for me? A sudden silence fell over the room, broken only by Victoria's ragged breathing. After a long pause, she let out a shuddering sigh. Sincere, think about it. Or just name your price. And take Chen will give you 3 days. I'll stay at Quentin's place during that time. I hope, for the sake of the years we spent together, you won't push things too far. Without waiting for my response, Victoria shakily got to her feet and walked away, not looking back. The front door slammed shut with a loud bang. My legs gave out instinctively, and I collapsed onto the sofa. Her coldness, her utter lack of remorse was beyond anything I could have imagined. Throughout our marriage, I had catered to her every whim, and in return, she was now asking me to name a price to lie for her, all because of her first love. I didn't hesitate any longer. I immediately called my lawyer and told him to proceed with the legal divorce filings. After that, I called a locksmith and had the locks on the front door changed. The next morning I was woken by loud banging on the door. Before I could even open it, angry shouts erupted from outside. Shameless, accusing your own wife of cheating, and then squatting in her house. Exactly, even if they're divorcing, it's marital property. This guy is immoral. Confused, I opened the door. The next second, someone threw an egg, splattering it all over me. Then a barrage of trash and other objects rained down on me. Through the chaos, I saw Victoria standing in the crowd, a smirk playing on her lips. A man like you is just proof that poor people cause trouble. President Bellwether is the CEO of a listed company. Look at yourself. How dare you slander her with fake videos, one neighbor yelled. And get him killed, a scumbag trying to steal her property and ruin her reputation. shouted another. I fought back my anger, wiping the filth off my face. What nonsense are you talking about? How did I slander her? The moment I spoke, Victoria burst into loud sobs. Everyone, please be the judge. We've been married for years. Even if I haven't contributed grandly, I've put in effort. Now he wants to leave me with nothing. So he ruined my launch event and framed me with a fake video. Then Victoria pulled out a small audio recorder from her pocket. It played back a recording of our conversation from the day before. The audio was clearly edited. Listening to it now, it made me sound like a complete monster. Victoria Bellwether, if you have proof, then show it. Trying to clear your name with an edited recording. That seems a bit weak, don't you think? Spit, you damn scumbag, full of lies. Now you're turning it around, claiming the recording is edited? One of the neighbors spat. Yeah, we're all neighbors here. We see what you're like day to day, another added. Victoria dabbed at her tears, all while looking at me with mocking eyes, as if watching a pathetic clown. When you live here, but I've never seen you go out to work. A grown man relying on his wife for support. And not only does he not work, he doesn't even cook. Every time I pass by their house, I see his wife bringing plates out from the kitchen. Kept man, just go die. What's the point of someone like you living? Just wasting air. I almost laughed out loud at their accusations. Said I didn't work? Since I got together with Victoria, I lost count of how many jobs I'd had, and quit simply because she didn't approve of them or there were too many female colleagues. I used all my savings from before I met her to buy this house. After getting married, I did the laundry, cooked the meals. I never slacked off on anything. I still remembered, in our first year of marriage, Victoria told me, "And son, I need money, I need love, companionship. So I hope you can stay home and be with me every day." But gradually she started staying out all night for any reason. When I asked for an explanation, she would lash out. And sincere, staying home all day has turned you into a frog in a well. You don't understand company business. So don't ask. I'm busy. Don't call me unless it's important. Those were her exact words. How did it suddenly become my fault today? I lifted my head, fighting the urge to curse them out, and ground out through clenched teeth. Apologize to me. But instead of listening, they just laughed louder. Don't you deserve an apology? Look at yourself. Who do you think you are? Got what you deserved. A man with a rotten heart like you should be locked up in jail. I snorted coldly and pulled out my phone. Fine. You want to make a scene? Let's see who's right when we get to the police station. 9. When we arrived at the police station, Victoria still had tear streaks on her face. The neighbors who had thrown things at me were also brought in. Facing the police officers, before I could even speak, Victoria started crying again. Officer, my husband falsely accused me of having an affair, took over our house, and changed the locks behind my back if I hadn't come home today to get something and found I couldn't get in. I wouldn't even know. Hearing this, the police officer looked at me with disdain. You're a grown man. Even if you're getting divorced, you can't behave so disgracefully. I didn't say much. I just took out my phone, played the video evidence, and placed it on the table. Whoever faked what, they know it in their heart. Officers, you can send both the audio recording and this video for technical analysis. Then the truth will come out, won't it? The aggressive neighbors became even more self-righteous. So go ahead. Send it. I refuse to believe that Victoria, CEO, would do something like that. So I bet it's you shameless bastard, who has impure motives. They argued back and forth, raising a ruckus in the station. The police officers told everyone to be quiet. Then both the audio recording and the video were sent to the technical department for verification. A flicker of panic crossed Victoria's eyes. Her guilty conscience was obvious. And sincere, if you just apologize to me and publicly issue a clarification, I'll pretend none of this ever happened. And I'll even forget about the divorce. We can go back to how things were. Hearing Victoria say this, the neighbors who had defended her looked annoyed. Victoria, why would you reconcile with him? Just tell this bum to pack his bags and get lost. Why humiliate yourself like this? I remained silent, sitting quietly in the chair, waiting for the analysis results. An hour later, a police officer returned to the room with a file. Victoria turned her head away. The officer looked me up and down, then handed me the file folder. "Sorry, this is a civil dispute. We don't have the authority to interfere. And as for the neighbors assaulting you, do you wish to settle this privately or press charges?" I shook my head. "Press charges." "Conright, then we'll proceed according to regulations." Before the neighbors could react, they were led away by the police into an interrogation room. After their statements were taken, they were detained according to the law for assault causing minor injury. I walked over to Victoria, a cold smile on my face. "I suggest you sign the divorce papers. Otherwise, I don't mind making this whole situation much, much bigger. And after all, you were the one who wronged me first." After leaving the police station, Victoria hurried after me, catching up in a few quick steps. She grabbed my arm from behind.
"Sincere, I'm sorry."
I yanked my arm away with disgust. "Victoria Bellwether, don't make me sick." "Sincere, I'm begging you. The divorce is fine, you can have the house. I know I was wrong about the affair, I wronged you. But please, can you just pretend it never happened? At least let me keep my job, please." I snorted derisively. "Keep your job? Victoria, are you still going to keep up this act, even now? You never gave me your heart, not from the beginning, not ever. Since you couldn't forget Ethan Song, why did you drag me into your life? And away you are. Even if Ethan Song wasn't married, he would never choose to be with you." I turned my back on her and walked away without another glance. Back home, I had my lawyer draft a new divorce agreement and sent it to Quentin Xiang's address, where Victoria was staying. I thought Victoria would finally give in, but unexpectedly she dragged things out until the final court date. She didn't show up for the first hearing, nor the second. The neighbors who had been detained for attacking me were furious after their release. They posted the entire story, the cause, the events, everything online. As a public figure, Victoria was already under scrutiny. This incident caused a massive public outcry. The scandal even reached Ethan Song. It disrupted his normal life to the point where he felt compelled to issue a public statement. He clarified that he had never wronged Victoria back in the day and wanted absolutely nothing more to do with her. 6 months later, I received the official notification from the court. The divorce had been granted by default judgment. I didn't care one bit whether Victoria was alive or dead. The sincere Smith who had been full of love and devotion for her was long gone. Her company appointed a new chairman. I put the house up for sale, ready to start over. A year later, I had found a new job and was soon promoted to a junior management position. To celebrate my promotion, my colleagues and I went out to a hot pot restaurant on a pedestrian street. After a few rounds of drinks as we were getting ready to leave, we noticed a crowd gathered outside the hotel next door. Curiosity piqued. We edged closer and saw what looked like a wife catching her husband's mistress, a woman, wearing only a bathrobe, her hair disheveled, sat crying pitifully on the ground. The man standing beside her looked vaguely familiar. Taking a closer look, I realized wasn't that Victoria's white moonlight, Ethan Song. "You damn whore, keep chasing after my husband, will you? I'll beat you to death today," Ethan Song's wife screamed, attacking the woman on the ground. The woman on the ground desperately tried to shield her face, sobbing uncontrollably. Ethan Song just stood there impassively, watching the whole scene unfold without a word. When his wife finally tired of hitting and cursing, I got a clear look at the woman's face. Though bruised and swollen, I recognized her instantly. Wasn't that Victoria Bellwether who had disappeared for a year? "Oh, what bad luck," I muttered under my breath. My colleague noticed my reaction. "What's up, Sincere? You look like you know her?" I quickly shook my head. "Oh, don't be ridiculous, I don't know her." Perhaps my voice was a bit too loud. Victoria suddenly looked up and her eyes locked onto mine. She scrambled through the crowd, crawling on her hands and knees towards me, grabbing onto my pant leg. "Husband, I knew you still loved me. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, I was wrong. I finally realized today that Ethan Song never cared about me at all. And I'll never go near him again, okay?" Take me home, please, take me home. She slurred her words. Dried blood caked at the corner of her mouth. My colleagues, witnessing this scene, recoiled in shock. Whoa, what's going on? And Sincere, why is this crazy woman calling you husband? Unmortified, I desperately wished the ground would swallow me whole. Are you insane? I don't know, you touched me again and I'm calling the police. But Victoria clung to me desperately. Husband, I really know I was wrong. Please give me one more chance, okay? I promise I'll only love you from now on. Ethan Song walked over to us, stared silently at Victoria for a moment, then pulled out his phone and called the police. Only when the police arrived and managed to restrain Victoria did I finally manage to escape the chaotic scene. About 2 weeks later, a colleague showed me an update on his phone he found online. Victoria, unable to let go of Ethan Song, had tried to lure him to a hotel again, only to be caught red-handed by his wife. After being taken to the police station, it became apparent that Victoria's mental state had deteriorated significantly. She could barely speak coherently. She was later admitted to a psychiatric hospital. As for Quentin Shang, after being fired, he apparently got involved in gambling and was eventually arrested by the police. Men and Sincere, my colleague said, shaking his head. That woman is truly disgusting. Chasing a married man relentlessly. People like her don't deserve to be loved. I smiled faintly and nodded. Yes, she didn't deserve love, nor was she capable of truly receiving it. After all, once upon a time, a genuine love was placed right in front of her, and she didn't know how to cherish it. Chapter 1. After my rebirth, I stopped groveling for my wealthy girlfriend. When she demanded I cook for her late at night, I accidentally set the kitchen on fire. At her birthday party, when she performed a duet dance with her unforgettable love, I praised them as a match made in heaven. Later, when she postponed our marriage registration for the 99th time because he was jealous, I graciously said it was fine and turned around to go on a date with another woman. Time and again, I made choices completely different from my past life, all because in that previous life, after I finally married her, her one true love had a bipolar episode and jumped to his death. She called me a murderer, and on the anniversary of his death pushed me off a building, leaving me to be splattered on the pavement below. This time, all I want is to live a good life. But just as my new girlfriend and I were about to get our marriage license, she suddenly blocked my path, her eyes bloodshot. Sincere, please come back. I'll forget all the things you did to provoke me. Sincere Clark, are you a pig? Still sleeping, Ethan is hungry. Get out here and make him a late-night snack. I was jolted awake late at night by a sudden pounding on the door. Opening my eyes, I realized that instead of being a pile of flesh and bone at the bottom of a skyscraper, I was somehow lying safely in my bed. Before I could process it, the bedroom door was kicked open. Victoria Blackwood stormed in with her click, roaring at me. Are you pretending to be deaf, or have you actually gone deaf? Didn't you hear me telling you to open the door? Now go make Ethan a snack. I don't want to say it a third time, hearing her familiar commanding tone and seeing the gleeful smirks on her friends' faces behind her. I felt no humiliation or pain. Instead, a wave of ecstatic joy washed over me. I had been reborn in my past life. I loved Victoria Blackwood with everything I had. We were childhood neighbors. When I was 6, my house caught fire while I was sleeping alone, and it was she who alerted my parents and saved my life. She always wanted to play with me and even said she would be my bride one day. She was always so good to me, and even when my family fell on hard times financially, she didn't care and often helped me out with money. I fell in love with her, pouring my entire being into that love. But as the years went by, her attitude toward me grew increasingly indifferent, eventually turning to cold neglect, just like now. I was at home sick with a fever because I'd been caught in the rain last night buying her favorite pastries. Yet without a single word of concern, she brought a group of friends over for a party, the loud music making it impossible for me to rest. I had only just fallen asleep in the middle of the night when she started banging on my door, demanding I get up and cook for her beloved Ethan Shaw simply because he said he was hungry. What are you still standing there for? Didn't you hear our Miss High and Mighty's command? Sincere, if you're going to be a lapdog, at least be a good one. You think the title of boyfriend comes for free? Stop trying to compare yourself to Ethan. Take a good look in the mirror." Victoria's clique jeered, openly mocking me. They all knew Victoria didn't care about me, so they could humiliate me without any consequences. In my past life, I would have swallowed my pride and pain, never daring to protest, terrified she would leave me. My endless compromises finally led to me marrying her, just as I'd always dreamed. But I never expected that on the second day of our marriage, Ethan, supposedly driven mad by the news, would have a bipolar episode and commit suicide by jumping from a building. From that day on, Victoria treated me like a murderer. On the second anniversary of Ethan's death, she lured me to the top of a 100-meter-tall building and pushed me off. In the split second before I hit the ground, I saw the supposedly dead Ethan, miraculously resurrected, holding Victoria in his arms. In that moment, I understood that I had been the pathetic clown all along. Reborn, I will never let that tragedy repeat itself. Watching Victoria lean casually against the doorframe, a contemptuous look on her face as she allowed her friends to ridicule me, I didn't offer a single word of defense. "All right," I said calmly. "I'll go make the snack now." Victoria raised an eyebrow, a little surprised by my easy compliance. In the past, even when I eventually gave in, I would have at least tried to argue my case, especially since I was running a fever, which would have only fueled my resentment. But she didn't know. In my past life, I did argue. I refused to cook. The price for my defiance was a basin of ice water thrown on me as I slept. I spent that night shivering in a soaked bed. The next day, my condition worsened, and I ended up in the hospital on an IV drip for 3 days. So this time, I was going to make them a snack they would be truly satisfied with. I went downstairs to the kitchen. Behind me, I heard one of her friends laugh. "Victoria, your dog is getting more obedient." Victoria shot me a triumphant glance and sneered, "Ha, does he dare to be disobedient? If he doesn't behave, I'll just replace him." I didn't retort. I just walked into the kitchen. I had no intention of actually cooking. Instead, I let my hand slip, and the kitchen caught fire. The smoke alarm shrieked. Flames quickly engulfed the kitchen. Victoria and the others in the living room smelled the smoke and scrambled for fire extinguishers. By the time they finally put out the fire, I emerged slowly from my room. Victoria, covered in soot and grime, looked at me with a face as dark as thunder. She finally snapped and roared, "Sincere Clark, are you an incompetent fool? I ask you to make a snack and you burn down the kitchen. What are you good for? Would you be happy if we all burned to death? Do you have any idea that Ethan almost burned his hand trying to put out the fire?" I kept my head down, silent, but I was laughing coldly inside. Ethan's hand wasn't burned. He'd bumped it trying to get away from the fire. And that was somehow my fault? Seeing my silence, Victoria grew even more furious and was about to continue her tirade. Just then, Ethan approached with his hand wrapped in an exaggerated bandage and said in a gentle, placating voice, "Victoria, I'm fine." Sincere must have been upset that we were disturbing his rest. He must be feeling resentful, that's why this happened. Why don't we just let him go to sleep? This was Ethan's classic move, using seemingly kind words to throw dirt on my name. I'd fallen for it many times before. But this time, he wasn't wrong. I had done it on purpose. If I couldn't sleep, then nobody was going to sleep. Victoria looked at his hand with deep concern. "Ethan, stay out of this." She turned back to me, her face twisted with disgust. "Sincere, I never knew you were such a vengeful person. I'm going to teach you a lesson today." She then ordered the others, "Go get a basin of ice water and pour it on Sincere's bed. He loves sleeping so much? Then let's make sure he gets plenty of it." She tilted her chin up, looking down at me with regal authority, like a queen casually sentencing a servant. She was waiting for me to grovel and beg for forgiveness. Instead, I let out a short, sharp laugh and turned and walked out of the living room. There were plenty of places in the world to sleep. Why would I hang myself from a tree in her yard? Victoria's expression changed. It wasn't until I was out the front door that she shrieked, "Get out and don't come back." I didn't even bother to look back, just kept walking. I could imagine her face flushed with rage and humiliation. This was exactly what I wanted. Simply making Victoria hate me wasn't enough. I needed to move out as soon as possible and cut ties with her completely. Chapter 2. That night, I got a room at a hotel. I slept until noon the next day, then went house hunting. I quickly found a furnished 3-bedroom apartment that was ready to move into. The truth was, my family's business had recovered years ago. The only reason I was still living at Victoria's place was to be with her. But she always acted as if she was supporting me, arrogantly believing that I would be nothing without her. Now, I had no more time to waste on her. By the time I signed the lease, it was already evening. I went back to pack my things. As I stepped into the living room, I heard the sound of elegant music. Victoria, dressed in a deep V mermaid gown, was dancing with Ethan, who was in a sharp suit. Their bodies were pressed close, their breaths mingling. The look in their eyes was electric. I had no intention of disturbing them and tried to slip upstairs to pack, but one of Victoria's friends spotted me. "Well, look who's back. Weren't you so tough last night, storming out to live on your own? Why did you surrender so quickly? Come over here and enjoy the dance." One of the male friends physically dragged me over. Victoria, her hand on Ethan's shoulder, continued her dance steps without missing a beat. She threw a casual glance my way, but didn't say a word. Her haughty posture suggested that even gracing me with a look was an act of charity. I offered my most sincere praise. "Wow, Victoria, you and Ethan are a perfect match on the dance floor. Not even world champions could dance as well as you two. You two better stay chained together." Just like this, Victoria shot me a sideways glance, her movements elegant and languid. "It seems you finally know your place." She pressed herself even closer to Ethan, but in the next second, Ethan suddenly stopped. Caught off guard, Victoria stepped on his foot. Seeing his pained expression, she asked with concern, "Ethan, are you okay?" Ethan shook his head, his face pale, a flicker of sadness in his eyes. "Victoria, I just suddenly remembered that Sincere is your fiancé. I'm just an outsider." Victoria's heart immediately went out to him. After a few seconds of silence, she turned to me and announced, "The wedding next week is postponed. Based on your immature behavior yesterday, I don't believe you are ready to be a proper husband." Her matter-of-fact tone reminded me that this was the 99th time she had postponed our wedding. According to our childhood promise, we should have been married 5 years ago, but she always found an excuse. The last time it was because Ethan was sick and she had to take care of him. The time before that it was because Ethan was on a business trip and couldn't make it back for the wedding. There were so many similar incidents I'd lost count. In my past life I compromised again and again, finally waiting until she fulfilled her promise and married me. I never imagined that death would be waiting for me. This life, I couldn't wait for her to cancel the wedding and marry Ethan. But I couldn't be the one to suggest it. With her prideful nature, that would only create more problems. So I feigned sadness, paused, and said in a choked voice, "Fine, I respect your decision. You two continue. I'm going upstairs." I turned and walked away. Victoria didn't stop me, an indifferent look on her face. It was Ethan who said guiltily, "Victoria, isn't this a bit harsh? What if Sincere is heartbroken?" Victoria cut him off confidently. "There's no what if. Sincere dreams of marrying me. What's postponing the wedding? Even if I made him wait until he was 80, he'd do it without a complaint," I sneered inwardly. "She really is overconfident. She won't have to wait until I'm 80. I have no intention of ever marrying her." Back in my room, I quickly packed. I took a few changes of clothes and my essential documents, stuffing them into a backpack. While they were engrossed in a game and no one was paying attention, I slipped downstairs. After leaving the villa, I dropped my things at my new place. Then I made a phone call to the most important person in my new life. "This is Sincere Clark. Are you free to meet up?" Chapter 3. In the coffee shop, my heart pounded as I looked at the girl sitting across from me. Her name was Sophia Miller. In my previous life, after I died and my soul lingered, it was she who arranged for my body to be recovered. She did everything she could to find evidence to prosecute Victoria Blackwood. And when my parents were paralyzed by the shock of losing me, she took it upon herself to care for them. Only then did I learn that she was my high school classmate and had secretly been in love with me for years. But my eyes had always been fixed on Victoria. I had never even noticed her. "Sophia, I want to get married. Would you be willing to marry me right away?" I asked, getting straight to the point. Whether it was out of emotion or gratitude, this life, I didn't want to miss out on such a wonderful woman. Sophia was stunned. Her mouth hung slightly open as she blinked a few times. Are you serious? But aren't you and Victoria Blackwood?" Before she could finish, her words were cut off by my ringing phone. The name "My Dear Victoria" flashed on the screen. A shadow passed over Sophia's eyes. "Damn it," I thought. "I forgot to change her contact name. You should get that," Sophia said, turning her face away. But I could hear the jealousy in her voice. I answered, and Victoria's lazy, arrogant voice came through the line.
Well, I was starting to think you wouldn't even answer my calls anymore.
You've gotten quite a temper lately, haven't you? Taking your documents and everything. Trying to pull that running away from home stunt again? Her condescending tone mocked my departure. It reminded me of the time I had actually run away from home. The trigger was finding her drunk, kissing Ethan. I was furious. For the first time, I exploded and stormed out of the house. It was a cold winter night, and I was only wearing thin pajamas. I thought she would come looking for me, but I waited until dawn the next day, huddled and nearly frozen in the gatehouse outside the villa. When she finally opened the door, she sneered, "Weren't you running away? How come you didn't freeze to death?" Even now, fully aware of her nature, the memory still stung. I said flatly, "Victoria Blackwood, let's break up." Across the table, Sophia stared at me in shock, as if she'd seen a ghost. I smiled and pushed a menu toward her, suggesting she take a look. On the other end of the line, Victoria was silent for a second, seemingly unable to process what I'd said, before she burst out laughing. "Sincere, do you have any idea how many years you've spent trailing after me like a puppy? Besides the food you've eaten, the roof over your head, weren't you only able to enjoy all that because of me? You want to break up with me. Did I hear you right?" I wasn't really listening to her. I picked up the teapot and poured some tea for Sophia. Sophia watched me, a faint blush creeping up her cheeks. I smiled to myself. This girl was even shyer than I remembered. Suddenly, Victoria's voice on the phone grew louder, dripping with superiority. "Sincere, are you listening to me? Don't try to test me with these little dramas. I don't have time to coddle you. I'll give you half an hour to come crawling back. Otherwise, I'm really done with you." I only then realized Victoria was still on the line. "Deal," I said casually, and I hung up. During our meal, Sophia agreed to marry me. We went and got our license that very day. The moment I held that red marriage certificate in my hand, the anxiety that had been weighing on me since my rebirth finally lifted. This life, I was going to get it right. The following days were a whirlwind of dates with Sophia, and our relationship blossomed at lightning speed. Victoria didn't bother me. The only updates I got were from her social media, where she ostentatiously announced that Ethan had moved in with her. Her friends would occasionally send me messages trying to get a rise out of me, but I felt nothing. One day, I booked a private room at a hotel to introduce Sophia to my parents. As we were heading up to the second floor, we ran into Victoria and Ethan, whom I hadn't seen in days. The moment she saw me, Victoria's eyebrows shot up, and a sly smile played on her lips as she walked toward me. Her tone was as superior as ever. "Sincere, are you stalking me? Regretting your decision to leave?" Chapter 4. I frowned, annoyed, with no intention of engaging her. I took Sophia's hand and tried to walk past. Victoria's face darkened, and she demanded angrily, "I'm talking to you, can't you hear me?" "Sincere Clark, you stop right there," I turned back impatiently. "I'm just here to have dinner with my girlfriend. I don't have the time to stalk you." Victoria stared at my face, then suddenly let out a sneer. "Girlfriend? Could you have come up with a more pathetic excuse? I'm out to dinner with Ethan, and you just happen to be here with your girlfriend. I chose this restaurant, and you just happen to choose the same one." She looked at me as if she had seen right through my plan. "Sincere, don't take me for a fool. Do you really think I'd believe in such a coincidence? If you really want me back, you should act like it. For starters, why don't you go get me some tea?" I couldn't help but be amused by her narcissism. "Victoria, you're unbelievable," I said with a cold laugh. "You eat your meal, I'll eat mine. Why are you blocking our way? Can't afford your own dinner?" Victoria's face flushed with anger, shocked that I would talk back to her so publicly. Just as she was about to explode, Ethan stepped in to play the peacemaker. All right, let's all just calm down. Sincere." He approached me and put his arm around my shoulders in a friendly manner. "Don't be mad at Victoria. It's true she let me move in, but it's only because I haven't been feeling well lately and she's taking care of me. Please don't misunderstand." Disgusted by his touch, I coldly pushed him away. But then, Ethan shot me a strange smile. The next second he grabbed my hand, pulled it forward, and threw himself backward with a loud cry. Ethan went tumbling down the stairs. Victoria screamed, shoved me aside, and rushed down to him. Ethan, are you okay?" Ethan was bleeding from his head, lying weakly in her arms. "Victoria," he whimpered. "I was just trying to talk to him. I didn't think—" Victoria's face was livid. She had someone help him up, then stormed back up the stairs and slapped me across the face. "Are you even human?" she raged. "Why did you push Ethan?" My cheeks stung, and my own anger flared. Before I could speak, Sophia jumped in front of me, trying to explain. It wasn't him, it was intentional. Victoria held up her blood-stained hands, cutting her off. Intentional? What is this blood fake? Just then, my parents, having heard the commotion, came out of our private room and were horrified by the scene. Before they could say a word, Victoria turned on them. "Mr. and Mrs. Clark, look at the fine son you've raised. How could I ever marry a heartless brute like Sincere?" My parents were about to defend me, but I stepped forward and said coldly, "There are security cameras. Don't just make wild accusations." Then I pulled out my marriage certificate and threw it in her face. "Besides, I'm already married. I wouldn't marry you now if you begged me." Chapter 5. Victoria stared in shock at the marriage certificate I had thrown at her. She opened it in disbelief. My name and Sophia's were clearly printed inside, stamped with an official seal. She was dumbfounded. "Sincere, how could you?" Then her eyes fell on the date of the marriage, and she began to tremble with rage. She glared at me, her eyes burning. "You secretly married someone else days ago? Sincere, have you lost your mind? Didn't you always dream of marrying me? What am I supposed to do now? How can I marry you if you—" I focused on calming my parents and Sophia, then cut her off coldly. "Don't even think about it. I'm doing you a favor, letting you and Ethan have your beautiful love story. Why would you want to marry me? I have a wife now." The expression on Victoria's face was one of complete cognitive dissonance. She seemed to be desperately trying to come up with something to say, but the words died on her lips every time. Just then, Ethan was helped back up the stairs, weakly trying to de-escalate the situation. "Victoria, please don't fight with Sincere because of me. I'm all right." He said he was fine, but he kept a hand pressed to the wound on his head, looking as if he might collapse at any moment. For the first time, however, Victoria didn't rush to comfort him. She ignored Ethan completely, her eyes fixed on my face. "Sincere, you win this time," she said. With that, she turned and walked downstairs, leaving the restaurant. I was baffled. What had I won? But I couldn't be bothered to guess what was going on in her head. From now on, she would no longer be a part of my life. Ethan shot me a venomous glare before hurrying after her. For someone who was supposedly so weak, he moved surprisingly fast. I took Sophia and my parents back to our private room for dinner. After a brief chat, Sophia quickly won over my parents. Looking at my happy family, I was filled with emotion. This was the life I was supposed to have. When we got home, I took a shower and was about to relax with my phone while waiting for Sophia. Just then, a friend called me. "Sincere, did you really get married?" he asked right away. I was a bit confused, as I hadn't told any of my friends yet, but I admitted it freely. My friend sounded like he'd seen a ghost. "So you and Victoria really broke up? I thought for sure you two would get married eventually." "Hey, did you know? Victoria's asking everyone about your marriage. She even had someone look into it to see if it was real." "Don't worry about her," I said calmly. But my friend continued, full of gossip. "She found out your marriage is real, and do you know what she did?" Chapter 6. "What?" I asked, casually eating a piece of fruit. "Victoria made Ethan move out. They had just moved in together a little while ago, and now he's already gone. Do you think it has something to do with you getting married? Maybe Victoria still has feelings for you and regrets it now that you're married," my friend analyzed, growing more certain. "You two were together for so many years, you can't just break up that easily. Victoria definitely regrets it. She loves you more." A cynical smile touched my lips. "Victoria doesn't love anyone," I said coldly. "She only chases what she can't have. When I was revolving around her, Ethan was the unattainable one, her white moonlight. Now that I'm no longer orbiting her and Ethan is rightfully by her side, I've become the one that got away." "Love?" I scoffed. "She doesn't have a heart. How could she know what love is? In our last life, she was capable of murdering me for Ethan's sake. She showed no regard for our years together. This life, I'm letting her have what she wants. Let's see just how happy the life she chose will be." 3 days later, Sophia told me she had a surprise for me. That evening, she took me to a banquet hall filled with balloons and streamers. In the center, a banner read "Happy Birthday, Sincere Clark" in big, bold letters. Many of my good friends were there, their faces beaming as they offered their heartfelt wishes. Sophia, wearing a beautiful formal dress, smiled radiantly at me. I was deeply moved. In all the years of my past life, ever since Ethan appeared, Victoria had never cared about my birthday. Last year on my birthday, she gave me the silent treatment, telling me to stay home by myself. She went on a cross-country trip with Ethan. Seeing the photos they posted online, I lost my appetite and lost 20 pounds from sheer misery. Victoria didn't even notice. She just sneered that I had brought it on myself. This year, with Sophia, I finally knew what it felt like to be cherished. "Thank you, my love," I said from the bottom of my heart. Sophia blushed and retrieved a beautifully wrapped gift. "Open it." Amid the teasing and laughter of our friends, I opened the box. Inside was a Lego set I had desperately wanted as a teenager. I remembered talking about it constantly, even doodling it in my textbooks instead of paying attention in class. Victoria had promised to buy it for me, but she never mentioned it again. When I was about to buy it myself, she stopped me, saying with disdain, "That thing is just a waste of money. What's so fun about it? I'll get you a much better and more expensive gift for your birthday someday." Unfortunately, I never received that promised gift. I was overwhelmed with emotion. I looked at Sophia. "How did you know?" Sophia hummed proudly. "Of course I know. I know what you like to eat, drink, and do for fun. We have a long life ahead of us. Are you ready?" I pulled her into a fierce hug and nodded emphatically. Just as we were about to cut the cake, a figure appeared at the entrance of the hall. Victoria Blackwood, Chapter 7. My face fell the moment I saw her. Before I could say anything, Victoria walked over with a smile and greeted me. "Happy birthday, Sincere. What are you doing here?" I asked flatly. Victoria frowned, slightly annoyed by my coldness, but she quickly brushed it off with a smile and produced a Lego box from behind her back. "A gift for you. You must be thrilled, right?" The box wasn't wrapped. It was just the original packaging. A quick glance confirmed it was the exact same model Sophia had given me. I couldn't help but find it ironic. When I had desperately wanted a gift from her, for her to celebrate my birthday, she had ignored me. Now that I had someone who loved me and friends who cared, she showed up. Wasn't this a classic case of too little, too late? No thanks. My wife already got me the same one. As I spoke, I wrapped my arm around Sophia's waist, staking my claim. Victoria's face soured with jealousy. She bit her lip and remained silent for a long moment, as if making a momentous decision. Then she rushed forward, grabbed my arm, and started pulling me toward the door. "Come with me. I need to talk to you." In front of everyone, she yanked me so hard I stumbled. This was the most undignified I had ever seen her. I didn't want to go, but I also didn't want to make a scene in front of so many people. I shook her hand off. "Fine, let's talk. Maybe if we cleared the air, she would finally leave me alone." Once we were outside, Victoria lifted her beautiful, cold face and stared at me intently. "Are you still sulking? You married someone else just because I postponed the wedding? Did you even think this through?" "Of course I did," I said calmly. Victoria paused, a flicker of shock and disappointment in her eyes. Then, she said seriously, "I admit, I can be a bit unreasonable sometimes. But even if we've broken up, we can still be friends, right?" She looked at me with hopeful eyes, a look I had never seen from her before. I had no idea what game she was playing, but I wasn't buying it. "There's no need for us to be friends. The best kind of ex is one who acts like they're dead." Victoria's face changed, and she gritted her teeth. "You hate me. Why do you hate me so much?" she pressed, her voice growing urgent. "Sincere, can't a person be given a chance to make up for their mistakes?" My patience was gone. "Victoria, what's lost is lost. Please, stay out of my life from now on. I don't love you anymore. Stop bothering me." I turned to leave. Just then, Ethan appeared out of nowhere and grabbed my hand. He put on his best manipulative act. "Sincere, wait. I've already moved out of Victoria's house." "I apologize. The person Victoria loves is you. If you're willing to get back with her, I'll leave. I'll go far away and never come back." He looked at Victoria with an expression of deep, tragic love. In the past, Victoria would have fallen for it completely, looking at him with emotion and promising she would never let him go, before turning on me with a barrage of insults. But now, she looked at Ethan with impatience. "Ethan, Sincere and I are talking. Please don't interrupt, okay? The reason Sincere is upset with me is because you and I were too close. What you need to do now is stay far away." Chapter 8. Ethan stared at Victoria in shock, his eyes filled with hurt. Victoria seemed to realize she had been too harsh and tempered her tone. "I'll buy you a plane ticket. Go on a trip for a few days and come back when you're feeling better, okay?" Ethan's lips trembled with pain. "It seems I was the extra one all along," he said hoarsely. "I'll go." With that, he turned and walked away. His lonely figure looked like something straight out of a soap opera. Victoria, however, was unmoved. She looked at me earnestly. "Sincere, in my heart, You are the most important person. No matter what, Ethan can't compare to the bond we share from growing up together. You need to have more confidence in yourself." I almost laughed out loud. In my past life, I had believed the same thing. A childhood friend had to be more important than a newcomer. So I compromised and endured again and again until we were finally married. But for Ethan's fake suicide, Victoria pushed me off a building. I clearly remember what she said to me on that rooftop. "Sincere, you killed the most important person in my life. You should pay the price." Those two sentences were burned into my memory. Even across 2 lifetimes, I could not forget them. Now she was telling me I was the most important person in her heart. I found it pathetic and laughable. "Victoria, I'll say this one last time. Stop harassing me." With that cold final word, I turned and left. This time, Victoria didn't stop me. She just watched me with a deep, contemplative look, as if she had made a decision. Chapter 9. When I returned to the party, Sophia didn't ask what Victoria and I talked about, but her distracted state made it clear she was worried. I took the initiative to explain everything that had happened, and I promised her, "This life, you are all I want." Tears of joy and relief welled up in Sophia's eyes as she nodded firmly. The birthday party ended on a happy note. I didn't let Victoria's little interruption ruin my mood and had quite a bit to drink. It had been many years since I had felt so carefree. A week later, I received an unexpected call from Victoria's parents. "My boy, we just found out you're married. And it seems you and Victoria were just not meant to be. Tomorrow is Victoria and Ethan's wedding. We were hoping you would come, even just as a brother, to see her off." I couldn't help but frown. I was about to refuse, but Mr. and Mrs. Blackwood continued in a weary tone, "My dear Sincere, we've watched you and Victoria grow up. Her wedding is such a big event, please come. Just do it as a favor for your uncle and auntie, okay?" Suddenly, I found it hard to say no. When I was little, I was always at the Blackwoods' house. They treated me like their own son. Sometimes when my own parents were busy with work, they would leave me in their care. Even though Victoria and I had fallen out, I couldn't bring myself to hurt the elders. "Okay, I'll be there." After agreeing, I immediately told Sophia and asked her to come with me. Sophia hesitated. "I don't think Victoria will want to see me there. It doesn't matter what she wants. We're attending as guests." I explained the long-standing friendship between our parents, and Sophia, ever so understanding, agreed. The day of the wedding arrived quickly. Our family was seated in the front row. When the bride and groom made their entrance, Ethan, dressed in his groom's suit, looked triumphant, shooting me a victorious glare. Victoria, however, looked completely distracted. During the public vows, she turned and looked directly at me, holding the microphone. Growing up, I always thought I would marry Sincere Clark. I never expected that we would drift apart. But even though he has married someone else, and I am marrying someone else, he is, and always will be, the best and most important person in my heart. This passionate declaration made Ethan's face turn green on the stage. He clenched his fists tightly. I watched Victoria's performance with utter contempt. Others might not know, but I knew exactly how she had treated me over the years. She had hurt me time and again, trampled on my love, and crushed my dignity under her heel. She had even cruelly taken my life. Now, hearing these words, I didn't believe a single one, nor did I care to listen. I acted as if I hadn't heard a thing, focusing on the delicious food on the table, completely detached. A flicker of disappointment crossed Victoria's eyes. What was she expecting? Unfortunately for her, I was not going to give her the satisfaction. The wedding proceeded smoothly, but Victoria's gaze followed me relentlessly. Even if I tried to ignore it, Ethan's jealous glares were impossible to avoid. If it weren't for all the guests, I was afraid the two of them would start fighting over me right then and there. The moment the wedding ended, I left with my family. Another month passed, and Sophia found out she was pregnant. I was overjoyed and asked my parents to move in to help take care of her. That very night, Ethan suddenly burst into our home, drunk and belligerent. He pounded on the door. When I opened it, he shoved past me and started wailing in our living room. "Sincere, why? Why is Victoria's heart only filled with you? She used to love me the most. Why has she changed? Ever since we got married, all she does is talk about you, how you're better than me in every way. If she loves you so much, why did she marry me?" Chapter 10. I quickly ushered Sophia and my parents into the bedroom. I stared coldly at the drunken mess before me. "She's always been this kind of person. You're only just realizing this? In the past, she could trample all over me for you. Now, she can discard you just as easily." Ethan shook his head, weeping, refusing to believe it. "No, impossible. She loves me. It must be you. You're secretly trying to win her back. You're already married. Why would you do this?" He was a grown man, crying his eyes out, completely unhinged like a madman. Seeing him like this, I vaguely saw a reflection of my past self. Just as miserable, just as helpless. Sincere, do you know? Yesterday I tried to kill myself. And she just watched coldly. I almost jumped from the building, but she didn't even turn her head. I had no desire to watch him make a scene, and was about to call the police when Victoria suddenly appeared. She pointed at him with a look of disgust and annoyance. "Ethan, what kind of madness is this? Go home, you're disgusting me right now then." She looked up at me, her expression softening. "Sincere, I'm so sorry. I didn't handle him well. I'm sorry he bothered you. The truth is, he and I are not a good match at all." She looked at me deeply and said softly, "If you miss me too, we could start seeing each other again, find what we once had." Before she could finish, Ethan suddenly erupted, rushing out of the house in a frenzy. I frowned, worried he might go out and do something dangerous. It wouldn't be good if he became a public menace. I was about to tell Victoria to go after him, but she was looking at me with an expectant expression. "Sincere, don't worry about him. In love, the one who isn't loved is the third wheel. I cut her off. "Enough. You should go check on Ethan. Don't let his bipolar disorder flare up. It wouldn't be good if he killed himself. In my past life, Ethan supposedly had bipolar disorder. To this day, I don't know if it was real or fake. After all, the man who was supposed to be dead was very much alive when I died. That death, it seems, was a sham. I warned Victoria, but she was dismissive. He already tried that yesterday, and he's perfectly fine, isn't he? He's just making empty threats. Sincere, can we see each other often from now on? I really miss you." An unexpected wave of nausea washed over me. The beautiful, proud Victoria of my memories now seemed ugly and repulsive. Get lost. I knew words were useless. I told her bluntly to get lost. Victoria stomped her foot, hurt, and ran off. That night I was awakened by a ringing phone. The news sent a cold shiver down my spine. Victoria was dead. It was her parents on the line, crying too hard to make sense. I quickly explained the situation to Sophia and rushed to the scene. There was blood everywhere. Victoria's body was so mangled it was unrecognizable. What terrified me the most was the location. It was the exact same spot where I had died in my previous life. A chilling feeling crept up my spine and I couldn't stop shivering. The police came to explain the situation. After Victoria found Ethan, they had been arguing. Her words were all in my defense. Suddenly, Ethan had a bipolar episode and pushed Victoria off the tall building. After the incident, he was so terrified that he lost his mind. He fled the scene and was hit and killed by a car. Hearing all this, I felt a strange, indescribable emotion. Perhaps it was karmic justice. In our past life, they killed me. In this life, they paid for it with their own blood. A week later, after their funerals, I stood before Victoria's tombstone. The oppressive weight of hatred that had burdened me finally lifted. From now on, I could finally let go of the past and embrace my new life with all my heart. The end.